I think I just made a mistake.
At long last, the Shining Force set sail for the eastern continent, but their ship was promptly attacked by sea creatures. The monsters were successfully dispatched, but not without suffering heavy damage to the vessel. Fortunately, a local mermaid named Shell from the town of Waral happened by, and was able to guide the exhausted heroes to where they may seek repairs. During this reprieve, Max learned of a missing friar, then traveled to the Ring Reef where the friar was stranded, and a mysterious temple resided under the waves. Learning of a shining path that leads to Metapha, the land of the ancients, Max decided to investigate the revealed ruins, only to find that evil forces were already trying to force the gateway open. The adventure continues.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shining Force, the legacy of great intention for the Sega Genesis. As you can see, we've made some slight adjustments to the party since last time because I decided to do a little bit of farming off screen. The money from before was a major issue and I wanted to take a break from recording anyway for a couple reasons. So I decided to get some money in the meantime. So I wanted to farm for money, but I didn't want to over-level in the process because, as I've said before in regards to grinding, that would kind of defeat the point of this whole run with trying to see how things go with using everybody. So I decided to instead take advantage of the fact that I had been neglecting Chris and did all the farming with her. I went in, gave her the power ring so she could do extra damage, and kept pummeling through the early enemies of this battle to get money. So now all my characters are fully equipped. I've got my swords for my birdmen, my lances for my knights. Everything's good to go on that front, so everybody's as equipped as I want them to be. So I have a bit more of an ideal party for this battle. I don't have any magic users, which might be a bit awkward, but I threw all my knights in there for mobility, especially since I will likely be splitting up in this fight here and there. And then I also added Balbaroy and Ammon to handle the terrain a bit, since that way they can kind of go back and forth between sides and do what they need to there. So if they need to suddenly switch from one side to the other, they can do that effectively. Lo already needs to heal himself, so let's pull him back and do some healing. At least he survived that hit. Honestly, if I were in a situation where I lost somebody instantly at the start of the battle like that, without having yet accomplished anything, I would just retreat and try again. Even though I decided not to bring any magic users, I am looking at that group right in the middle and thinking that'd be a great place. Nice dodge, Max. That'd be a great place to, just throw a wizard up there to blow all those guys away. Let's get Pell in there for a follow-up attack. Solid hit. Although my characters are a little weak from having just promoted, these sea bats are starting to fall behind in regards to how strong they are. So they're not too much of a problem. They can hit hard, but as long as I don't get ganged up on by multiple enemies, they shouldn't be a problem. Or if they score critical hits and the like. This is gonna hurt a lot though. Oh, I was just talking about that stuff. And then, boy, did Balbaroy survive that by the skin of his... Well, birds don't have teeth, so the skin of his beak, I guess? It's kind of weird trying to apply that saying to a birdman. What will happen if I send Luke up here? Let's see, He'll be in serious trouble, but I could get a really awesome hit with the heat axe. So I'm gonna go for it. Weaken these guys. It puts Luke in a lot of danger, but it'll get me a really good hit that will serve me well in the long run, especially with stuff like that happening. The Hellhound's fire elemental, so he resists it, but overall that was a lot of good damage, especially on that worm, which can cause problems if he's let to do stuff, because he can put people to sleep with his basic attack. Didn't lure in that enemy. The enemies are continuing to show their incredible tactical prowess. Let's try to get rid of this worm as quickly as possible. The Hellhound can do more damage with its flamethrower, but I'm a lot more concerned about being put to sleep because the flamethrower, unless it gets a double attack, won't kill anybody, because while breath attacks can get double attacks, I'm pretty sure one thing they cannot do that magic can is score critical hits. To my recollection, I've never seen a breath attack score a critical hit before. Oh, this puts Balbaroy in a lot of danger. He's now susceptible to that bat if it gets another turn soon. Going for max, that makes sense. Oh dear. And that's after I just fed him more defenses because before I started recording, I gave Max one more defense potion and one more of the breads. Whatever it's called in this one, I'm forgetting because I think they have... I think it's just health bread. I think they changed the name in the later games, which is why it's slipping my mind. So I gave Max more defenses to help keep him alive better. Let's actually intercept this Hellhound just in case it tries to follow up against Max. Its turn should be coming up any second now, although that bat is also concerning. Ammon, do you have... No, you don't have any medical herbs, so I can't heal Max with that. So let's try to get this skeleton out of the way. Just narrowly took it out. The Birdmen aren't very strong, but they have the advantage of flight, which is great, but they generally don't hit very hard. Let's get Max over here. He could heal himself with an herb. I'm pretty sure he's holding one, but I'm going to try and get rid of this Hellhound instead before it has a chance to get another turn. I should be able to gang up on it with my people. Now that Max moved, he's out of range of the bat to be able to get to him and finish him off. One nice thing about this run is while my characters will definitely be lower levels in general, because of that, when I am using them, they'll be gaining a lot of experience almost consistently throughout the game, I imagine. So when they are being used, they'll kind of be able to catch back up. Ken doesn't really need that, and it's not enough of an emergency to waste the magic points on heal level 2 since Max isn't in any imminent danger, and I don't think anybody else. Now everybody else is fine, so let's just keep Gong. Let's pull Gong back a little bit to get ranged fighters in there. Balbaroy. Can Balbaroy really even hurt that guy? 26, 20... If the bat wasn't flying, I would have considered keeping Balbaroy where he was, but trying to block off the bat isn't going to help anyway, so I'm not going to worry about that. It's going for Balbaroy again, but as long as I can get rid of the skeleton before that becomes a problem, he should be fine, although that really depends on how the turn order favors me here. Alright, so I'm going to move Arthur down here. That should be a safe spot for him. Luke... I need to get rid of that skeleton before it follows through against Balbaroy, so let's get Luke in there with the heat axe. Normally I wouldn't use the heat axe unless I'm able to hit multiple targets, but in this case I need to get that guy out of the way. A lot of speed for Luke, that's useful because he's definitely someone you want to be getting in there in advance. He's definitely a frontline character. Get Vankar up here, circle around after the bat. Anyway, in regards to the break, there are two major reasons why I decided to take a break from recording for a while. For starters, I was feeling frustrated after the previous episode, so I just felt like I needed to take a break for a while to kind of unwind and just not have to worry about that. I need to get that off my mind for a while because that was a disaster. Let's keep... okay, yeah, wait. No, that bat hasn't gone yet. Let's actually pull Max a little bit back so the bat doesn't go after him. Another nice thing about having all these knights in the party is I don't have to worry so much about characters getting in each other's way to be able to attack. So back to what I was talking about. For starters, as I just said, it was frustrating. Things were getting really, with Max's deaths and then not being able to afford anything, speaking of not worrying about people getting in the way, this guy's in the way. So with Max's death and not being able to afford my equipment and set up my party how I wanted and just all that stuff, I was just feeling really frustrated at the game, so I decided to take a break and refresh myself. And in addition to that, as is apparent with this episode where I'm just basically reacting to what's going on, I was running out of things to talk about. And I don't want that. If I'm going to be doing Let's Plays of games, granted they are sometimes going to be almost entirely reactionary, but I don't want them to be that way. I don't want to just be reacting to what's happening on the screen, because I don't feel like that's interesting commentary. I want to be able to talk about other things while I'm playing the game, and as it may have become apparent during the last couple episodes or so, I was starting to run out of things to talk about. I was having more and more of a difficult time as the game was progressing to come up with things to discuss while playing it, which was degenerating the commentary into something I didn't want it to be, which was just me talking about what you're seeing. I don't need to be discussing what you're able to perceive yourself by looking at the screen. Oh, that to me doesn't make for a good Let's Play. I'm sure some people like that. Some people probably want that, especially if they're not actually watching the Let's Play and they're just listening to it, and they still want to know what's going on. But to me, that's just not very good. It doesn't make for very interesting content to watch. So I'm trying to avoid that by having more... not necessarily stimulating things to talk about, but just being able to talk about more than just what you're seeing already and reacting to it. I don't feel like I need to talk about that or have that be the primary commentary. So I wanted to take a break and come up with more to talk about, and I actually have a list. I probably won't be getting to that list this episode, but I have a list of stories that I compiled over a few weeks. Wow, that was a lot of hit points. And I'm basically going to start consulting that list so I have things to talk about to keep the commentary more interesting, or at least more interesting is in regards to what I want to get out of it and what I would like to see myself if I were watching this. Defense 4 defense 3, hit points 4, and attack 1. Have I been wrong about Ernest my whole life? I could have sworn he was a glass cannon, but he's not shaping out to be that at all, which is strange. Let me know in the comments if you're more familiar with Ernest, if you've played this game a lot, and Ernest is one of your regulars. Let me know that. Have I just been wrong in regards to what kind of character he is? Did I just use him the 1 or 2 times and incorrectly remember how he develops? Or, what? What's the deal with that? Why am I so incorrect with this? Do I have any healing medical herbs that I can pass around to get some healing done? Because, my magic points are wearing out, and I have some people who are hurt. I have healing seeds, but I would rather hang on to those for an emergency, if I can help it. Did I check you? Yes. You have my only medical herb, so let's give that to Gong, so he can heal somebody with that a little bit. So those are the reasons why it's been a while. In addition to my wanting to farm, but that really didn't take very long. And during that time, Chris became my most powerful character. She is now way stronger than anybody else in the team, because having her kill enemies, then retreat, kill enemies, then retreat, doing that over and over again until I could afford all these weapons, got her up to, I think, about level 12 to, or like 10 or something. I'm pretty sure she's now in the double digits promoted. So even though she's a healer, she's by far probably my most powerful character in every regard. Even my fighters, I'm sure she's stronger than all of my fighters. She's just my best character at the moment, but I'm going to continue not using her. And that's why I used her exclusively for the grind, or farming rather. Because I didn't want to take the time to get all that money and then wind up having my forces become overpowered as a result of it. Just have one more character I need to get healed up, and then I'm going to be proceeding onward. Also, I forgot to mention in regards to my equipment, I currently have a low equipped with the running ring. That's a ring I'm going to be passing around quite a bit, most likely throughout the game, depending on my team and who needs it when. If I'm using Gunts, it's pretty much guaranteed to go to him, but when I'm not using Gunts, it will probably go to a healer so they can keep up with everybody and get around more easily to heal people, but we'll just have to see if those I don't think those worms engage. I can't remember. If they do, though, how in danger will Max be? He should be able to take those hits, even if they both go for him. Unless they get double attacks or crits. But I'm not going to be paranoid over something like that. Especially since he needs the experience points. Go get him, May! Then take hits like you're supposed to, with all those hit points and defense points that you've got. I'm pretty sure, though, that those worms will retreat. Unless Max can die from their attack. But even then, because of how pre-programmed they are, I'm pretty sure those guys will, yeah. They're going up to back up the mage. And since that Hellhound just went, I'm actually... Ernest is already level 3, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to try to focus on attacking that Hellhound with characters whose levels are currently lower to try and get them the experience instead. Otherwise, certain characters will end up skyrocketing and others will fall behind, which is normally how the game goes anyway. Typically, by the end of the game, my end game levels usually range from about level 8 to level 22, because there are certain characters who do everything. They're so overpowered, they get all the kills, they do all the stuff, and they get all the experience points as a result, so their levels just keep going up and up and up, and they keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's usually characters like Xylo, Domingo, Guns, just the really powerful characters. Then other characters who can't do much damage or are more for support, like archers or my knights. If knights are kind of hit or miss as far as their levels go, they're usually around the middle for me. Or flying units, because they don't hit very hard. Mostly a lot of times the characters that don't hit very hard and aren't getting kills, but are instead just chipping away at the enemy's hit points so other characters can get the kills instead. Those characters are usually at really low levels by the end of the game. And then the stronger characters are just way up there, so there's a huge divide with my levels by the end. And that's very possibly going to happen here as well, but that's all the more reason why I want to kind of focus differently with that. If I can have chances to get some of my lower level characters experience points instead, especially in a situation like this where it's kind of safe to do so, I feel like it's a good idea to go for it. That was a depressing miss. Let's get Ken in there. I want to try to kill the skeleton first, because the mage is the battle leader, so when he dies, the fight ends. And I always try to save the leader for last, so I can get all the gains from the enemies that are present in the fight. Considering how that just played out, if Ammon gets this kill, that is, I'm actually happy that Pell missed, because I feel like that spread worked out much more in my favor than if he had gotten that hit and then Balboroy got the kill. For all the various reasons I've explained in the past. What magic does this guy have? Freeze level 2? I don't think that'll be quite strong enough to kill Arthur. And even if it does, the battle's basically over anyway, so I'm not too concerned about losing somebody at this point. So let's just get him in there to whack the worm. And he attacks, which I considered just as I was doing that. I'm thinking, well, what if he just attacks instead and kills him? But again, it's not a big deal. At this stage in the battle, deaths are not a concern. The worm won't be able to reach max anyway, so let's get in here and whack the Master Mage and get a double attack, which isn't what I wanted to happen, but okay. Arg! So close! I was so close! The way to Metapha, almost ours. Max, I was waiting for you. I used to be that... blah blah blah. I used to be that mermaid that brought you here. Talk about completely changing the story. Suddenly, this magical ancient spirit used to be a mermaid. Let's go with it. It is the voice of the spirit from the pool of the ancients. Well, I mean, she's from a pool, so it makes sense that she used to be a mermaid. Maybe she was. Maybe that was the mistranslation and I finally figured it out. The shining path lies beyond this door. It leads to the land of the ancients. The key to the accursed door is there. I shall open the way to the shining path now. Oh no! No, though it takes all of my remaining strength, you shall not use the path. I've always hated those rocks. The shading and texture on them just looks weirdly out of place. They just look a lot more cartoony than everything else around them. And so that's always bothered me. Alas, the path is blocked. Listen, 2 things are needed to break free Dark Dragon. Dark Soul must get the key to the door as well as the manual to the seal. The manual is in Draconia. You must stop Dark Soul. The seal must not be broken. Go to prompt. There you should find another shining path. Max, quick, this place is collapsing. Hurry! Run away! Well, that was a dead end, but at least we now have a new goal. We need to get to Draconia and stop Dark Soul from getting the manual, as well as reach prompt to reach the what's-it. I was right, the shining path was here. Too bad it is now blocked. Unless we swim. We'll just have to invent scuba gear and then go from there. Shell is really anxious to see you, Max. You must see her. You know, in regards to what I was saying before about Shell originally being intended to be a recruitable character, if that's true, I have to imagine that dialogue is left over from that. Did you really fight evil creatures under Ring Reef? Yes. How scary. They were right under our fins. So I feel like that dialogue that lady gave me was probably meant to imply, find Shell and talk to her and she will join your party, wherever she is. It's me, Shell. You've been with the friar at Ring Reef? Did he tell you his secret? Yes. It's amazing. You're both from Guardiana. Are you leaving now? Please visit again after your quest is over. I'll show you around. Yeah, I feel like she would probably join us there originally if we went to talk to her, but as I said before, to my knowledge, that was originally the plan, but it was scrapped. Anyway, that's done. Let's go back on our boat so we can bring Arthur back to life, and then we'll go visit the king and see if he's done fixing our ship so we can leave this place. Well, Max, your ship is repaired. Are you leaving immediately? Yes, we have stuff to do. We must save the world. I see. The payment for the repairs comes to 1 million coins. Will you pay it now? Yes. Why? You don't have enough money. Of course I do. It's just in my other wallet. But if you'll let me write an IOU, I'll get back to you in no time with that. You almost believed me, didn't you? I can't take money from you. I thank you on behalf of my people. Take care and be sure to return later. With money, we need tourism. Our island is so isolated and all we have to eat is fish. We're so lonely we have people emerge from the water when people step on our fish. And those are like the only guests we get. Please bring us money and maybe a steak or 2. I haven't had anything to eat but fish in 35 years. Back to the boat! That's immediately attacked again. We were just about to land, too. Go get them. This is one of the reasons why this chapter is really dumb, because 2 out of the 3 battles in the chapter are just recycling the same idea. In this case, our ship's under attack. Again. And we have to defend it. Again. So here we go again. Once more, we have to protect our ship from invading enemies. Are there any enemies up here that I have to worry about this time? No. We have a new enemy, though. This guy, a gargoyle who can cast Muddle, the most useless spell in this game. It blinds you, because for some reason, a confusion spell inflicts blind. I don't know why, but that's what it does. Oops. I just realized I had given Lo the mobility ring in that previous battle, but forgot to actually equip it. And then in this case, I forgot to transfer it to Guns before this battle began. We're up to good stuff. Oh well, it wound up not really hurting anything. Man, these monsters are aggressive this time. They're just charging right for us. So let's charge right back. Can any of these guys... How far do you move? Oops, forgot to switch weapons. Oh well, get in there, pal. You did enough damage anyway. Luke, get in here with your heat axe. Made some adjustments to my team, added my wizards, so both Tao and Henri are with us now. That heat axe is really holding up. That's good. Diane can't quite reach, because Max is in the way. Hans can't quite reach, because people are in the way. Not liking how this startup is shaping up. These bats are gonna start going for people in a moment, and that's gonna be painful. Good defensive level up for Vankar, that'll be useful. Equip the mobility ring. Give him 2 more movement, so he can start getting in there. Here's a new mechanic introduced in this battle, appearing enemies. The enemies have reinforcements coming in, so this is gonna be one heck of a fight we're gonna have to go through. Get Luke in here. Try to draw some of these attacks to him. So as I said in the last episode, for this fight, at least I'm pretty sure it's this fight, it could have been the previous one, I can't remember for sure. But I have a story that goes with this. Because when I first played this game, as I said way back in the beginning of this run, I didn't get very far. I only got to Alterone, and I didn't get any further because I went back to Guardiana. I listened to the witch's advice and went back looking for what I needed to do there. And because of that, I never got very far. And also because of that, I didn't rent this game again for quite some time. I moved on to Shining Force 2 and started playing that instead, and in that game I was actually able to make progress, so I started focusing more on renting that game instead for quite some time, and it was quite a while before I returned to this game and gave it another shot and actually made progress. This is not going well. I think I just lost Max. No, he can take good hits from them. Even if all 3 of them go for him, he should survive. And that conch just went. That's near Gort, so things should be good. At least better than they feel. Anyway, so Shining Force 2, I actually got far in that game. There was a point or 2 in that where I got stuck as well. But because I never got very far in this game, I never got promoted in this game. Instead, the first time I got promoted in a Shining Force game was in Shining Force 2. And in that game, you promote at level 20. Now, when I finally started getting further this game, I just assumed automatically that it was the same thing, that promotion was at level 20. Instead of level 10. 2 crits in a row. Things are starting to turn right around. Things were looking bad at first, but now it's starting to pick up in my favor. Anyway, so I played this game just automatically assuming that you needed to get to level 20 to promote, just like in the second game. So that's what I did. I didn't even try to promote until I was at a higher level. And because of that, this is when I promoted. I finally got somebody to level 20. I don't remember who it was. Weirdly, I feel like it was Hans. I don't know why Hans would be my first character to reach level 20, but for some reason I just feel like it was him, because his is the image that comes to my mind whenever I think back on this event. But regardless of who it was, somebody hit level 20 and I got to this point, and so I went to promote, and suddenly I could promote everybody. My levels were ranging, I believe, from level 13 to 20, and I could just get everybody promoted, and so I did exactly that. So I didn't promote until this battle. I actually got really far in that run too, but I ended up getting stuck near the end because due to how late I promoted in the game, my characters wound up being super underpowered by the end and just couldn't keep up. So I eventually got stuck. Granted, I would have eventually made progress because fighting the battle and losing and fighting and losing over and over again would eventually accumulate the experience points to level up and eventually make progress. But because this was a rental, I didn't have that kind of time and eventually just had to call it. I got to the point where I just had to take the game back before I could finish. And I was at the final chapter. I only had a few battles left to go, but I just hit a wall that I couldn't get past in the time I had available. Let's move Gort down here to make him a little bit more enticing because he can take the hits from these guys just fine. I want to try to draw their attention to him. Let's fire off this brand new Blaze level 3 spell. It's weird being this far in the game and this being my first time using that spell, but what are you gonna do? Lo weirdly needs to heal guns. Oops, he doesn't have a weapon equipped? How did that happen? Does Lo no- Oh, right, I remember now. Chris has his weapon. Because I was doing that farming with her because I had previously sold Chris's weapon. So in order to do that farming, I had given Lo's weapon to her. So I can't rely on Lo fighting in this battle, which I doubt I would be needing to do anyway. Let's create sort of a wall down here. But now the option isn't there in the event that I would need to. Soon though, I'll be getting a new weapon for him anyway, so it's not a big deal in the long run. Oh boy, that hurts. And that's why I wanted Gort there. I wanted Gort down there to draw the enemy fire away from people like Diane and Hans. Hopefully it'll work with this other one though, since he's more in the way there. Kind of interfering with the enemy's path, so it prioritized it. Now I need to heal Diane when it's Gong's turn, probably. Almost took out that bat. That would have been really useful. Alright, guns. Wreck this shellfish, because they're the enemies that hurt the most, apparently. And I believe they're also the ones who can do poison. I always find myself second guessing that because whenever I get to this point, I'm always thinking, is it the shellfish that poison? Is it the conch? Or is it the conchs that poison? And part of me always tells me it's the shellfish. But there's always this little voice in the back of my head questioning that because it's asking me, am I saying that out of genuine memory? Or am I only saying that because they're green and so I'm misremembering it? Go for the conch, Hans. See if you can take it out. Good shot. And now Diane, does she have similar strength to Hans? She actually has higher strength, so it should be no problem for her to, although... Go for the more dangerous guy. I'm more concerned about the bat. Dang it. Because it has a wider range of mobility so it can get around to people easier and cause me trouble that way. In this case, though, I don't have freeze level 2 yet, so blaze level 2 on these two guys. Even if it's a crit, it won't kill the second one, so I'm not concerned about prior complaints in regards to such things. Defense 5. There's those level ups I was talking about before with Henri. Despite being a wizard, once she's promoted, she becomes a physical tank. Not a magic tank though, because she gets no hit points. But boy, can she take those physical hits like a boss. I can't imagine an enemy like that being particularly evasive, so missing it seems strange to me. Speaking of which, this is just a thing in my head, that level up will save me a lot of grief. Max suddenly became impervious to like everything in this battle. But Max's attack animation, because of how he swings so low to the ground when he attacks, I always felt like he had worse accuracy against flying enemies. I know that's not the case, they wouldn't have programmed something that weird, but I've always felt like he misses flying enemies. Oh, I just completely spaced out there. I always felt like Max misses flying enemies frequently because of his attack animation. With how he attacks, it looks like he's doing sort of a sword sweep along the ground almost with his blade, and I just always saw that as something that would affect his accuracy against those enemies. I know that's not a thing, it's just a fun little fact about how I perceived that as a kid. I'd like to save this enemy for someone whose level's a little bit lower, but the shellfish are dangerous, so I just need to get it out of the way. The battle's going smoothly, no major complaints. I was getting a little bit worried that the enemies were going to be getting the first attack off, especially because some of those enemies were within dangerous range of being able to attack my archers, which I was concerned would be able to be taken out in one hit. Fortunately, Diane was attacked once, but she was able to take it, and once I got past that initial issue of the enemies perhaps getting the first attack off, things have smoothed out a bit, so we're in a stable position to get through this battle without any problems. Aside from perhaps a fluke here and there from enemy attacks to hit hard. Speaking of hitting hard, good job, Diane. Although if my archers don't get levels, they're gonna start falling behind really quickly. Speaking of which, I'd like to maybe consider saving this bat for Hans, but because of the mobility and evasion issues, I just want to try and get it out of the way. Alright, Hans, pick up Guntz's mistake. Good job. You ended up getting the kill anyway. Defense 1, speed 2. You may be promoted, but your levels are still just as garbage as they've always been. Shellfish is on the move, going for Pell. He should be able to take that just fine. Pell's definitely a beast at this point in the game. But also, as explained before, he kind of starts falling off after a while in comparison to some other characters who get a lot more late game growth than he does. He's just a real strong early game character, getting you through the early stuff very effectively, but then after that, there's more dependable characters. Learned the quick spell, which is much better than slow, because it's basically a buff that has the same general effect. But because it's a buff, it can't miss, which makes it better. Alright, we're near the end of this thing. I just need to do a little bit of healing, and then I'll start moving in for the kill. Alright, looks like the enemies are on the move. I've triggered them, and now they're ready to finish the job that their allies completely failed to accomplish, which was put a dent in my forces. Heck, their mission was to defeat my forces, but they're not accomplishing anything at all, aside from destroying our boat for the second time. So that's lovely. And there goes Max double missing the Pegasus with that ridiculous attack animation. Here comes the Gargoyle, which I'm pretty sure is the battle leader. It's possible I'm misremembering that because it's a unique enemy, but I'm pretty sure killing the Gargoyle will end the fight. Man, Luke is just dominating with the levels. At this rate, he's definitely going to be one of my MVPs this run. Which makes sense because he's a solid character. He's better than Gort. Gort starts off better, but by the end of the game, Luke does manage to slowly inch his way ahead. Pegasus Knights are no longer a threat. They're pretty old enemies that suddenly come back for whatever reason for this last battle. But by this point, they've been rendered pretty obsolete. Although Max is in trouble, so I've gotta start getting some of these guys off of him. Let's see if I can take out this knight, whose turn will be coming up next, before it gets the opportunity. Alright, Gong, let's do some healing. Get Max back up to snuff so I don't have to worry about him getting taken out. That's Gong's last heal for this battle, though. But that's not a concern, there's only 3 enemies left. There's no chance of them pulling a win out of this. Good job, Hans! Way to pull your weight. That level up of yours may have been completely worthless, but at least you're showing that you're not as worthless as your level up was, even if it was by pure coincidence. First promoted level up for guns. Let's see if we can get one for Diane, maybe? Unless she misses, she'll get a level up. I actually should have attacked the Gargoyle. Oh well, I was too focused on not killing the Gargoyle yet that I just completely screwed that up. Hacha! Miss. Give this guy a good whack, Max. Or not. That's 3 aerial misses in a row from him. Perhaps you can understand why I came up with that theory with his attack animation. Blaze level 1, whack this guy. Finally get some damage on him. Deadly attack of 9, level up. No magic points? She got more speed, which is definitely her strongest stat, but she's also really good with magic points, so that was kind of weird, but oh well. She has plenty. Her spells, she uses blaze magic primarily, which is the weakest and least expensive of all the 3 attack spells, so she has magic conservation in that regard. Let's get the Teppo real quick, which is a gun, a rifle, or a shotgun, whichever it's supposed to be, and it doesn't do anything. There's not a single gun wielder in the entire game, and nobody can equip that weapon. So despite the fact that we just found a gun on our boat, which begs the question, why did the king put a gun on our boat? You know, this enemy is completely harmless. I actually want to see if I can finish him off with either Diane or Hans, because I feel like of everybody in my party right now, they're the ones who most need the early experience if they can get it. The ship's helm was destroyed in the battle. We're now adrift at sea. The ship drifted off course, lost at sea. What will become of the Shining Force? We're gonna have to find out in the next chapter and the next episode, because that concludes Chapter 5, Gateway to the Hidden Shrine, and concludes this episode. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching! Chapter 6, Descendant of the Sacred Dragons. Hello? Please help Blue. Sorry, but I'm on a quest to save the world. Ooh, trudgies. I know lots of stuff. How do you know that? I don't imagine kids being able to do a very good job. Because of my levels, my hit points are not up to snuff to taking all these magic hits. I already just lost guns. I have no need for you, priest. Generally similar team. I use different characters, but my team's makeup is good and victory and whatever. So that'll be a fun time. Not quite yet. Bravery powers activate! Blah blah blah. This door will only open for 2 heroes, and will come in handy for sure. I am such a wicked and despicable villain that I'm going to let you prepare for battle instead of just killing you right now while you're alone and isolated. Alright, here we go. Hang on.